6, text 3 and 4.
Yes. For someone who has just begun yoga, accomplishment of yoga can be attained by action. But for one who has already attained yoga, perfection is possible through termination of all activity. When all attachment towards sense objects and action cease, all material impulses stop, one attains yoga.
Sadhguru, these two texts are in context of sannyasis. Krishna discusses about sannyasi, how he can become a yogi, and in that context he has made these two statements. Now here, what is meant by action? Because he says initial stages, yoga can be attained only by action. And then he says all the activities will have to be terminated for perfection. And then again he says that all attachment towards sense objects and action cease and all the material impulses stop, one attains yoga. At some other place, again he says, even a sannyasi cannot
Which
be
is that
free
some
from
other
action.
place?
Pardon?
Which is the some other place? You must tell the number.
Of course, I know the other day you discussed about it. Even a sannyasi cannot be free from action, and even to maintain the body he has to be active. That was discussed already here.
Yes.
So here he says all the activities will have to be ceased.
Yes.
Could you kindly elucidate on this?
Okay, let me read this 3-4 so that those of you who don't have the book with you. The Lord of Sri said, "One who does his duties properly and renounces the fruit of his action is both a renunciate and a yogi. It is not possible to become a sannyasi merely by foregoing work and sacrificial fire. O son of Pandu, sannyasa is yoga, because only by giving up all selfish impulses can one attain yoga. For someone who has just begun yoga, accomplishment of yoga can be attained by action. But for those who have already attained yoga, perfection is possible through termination of all activity. When all attachment towards sense objects and actions cease, all material impulses stop, one attains yoga. Whether one attains elevation or degradation through one's mind is up to oneself, for the mind can be one's friend or one's foe." That goes on in that context. About action. See, when it is said, one who does his duties, this is again dharma, properly and renounces the fruit of his action, is both a renunciate and a yogi. It is not possible to become a sannyasi merely by foregoing work and sacrificial fire. See, it is not the action which is entangling. Please look at your own life. Right now, let's say you're going to your office. You're an accountant, you're going to the office and count numbers. You going to the office, counting numbers, coming home doesn't entangle you. In the process of counting, you're going to the office because it will give you a certain benefit. You're going to the office because it gives you a certain prestige. You're going to the office because it gives you a certain life and activity and society and access and so many benefits. So the very reason you're going to the office is not because you love to count numbers. You are going there for the fruit of action. Yes? But he's trying to pull that off from you. He's telling you to go to office, not get any salary, not get anything from there, no prestige, no social access, no nothing, anything that you're getting, benefits and fringe ones. All the things are not coming. Are you still willing to work? It is not that you should not eat, it is not that you should not enjoy what's around you, but if those things are not there, will you still work with the same intensity? You need to understand that is what is of utmost value and significance here. Now people who are doing all this work, for example, let's say flowers and this and that, and somebody's sitting in the pit, somebody's sitting there, somebody's outside cooking in the kitchen. Now, because they arrange all these flowers, we are not going to give them prizes, they are not paid, day and night they work. They don't even get to sit here and enjoy the space. They're not allowed to be in a program that they themselves have not experienced. But do you think anything has been done with resentment here? That I am not being let into the Leela, so why the hell should I do it? Do you see that resentment anywhere? This is really renouncing the fruit of action. Simply doing it, that's all. You won't get to see it, you won't get to enjoy it, you won't be there to experience the program, nothing. But day and night it's been done. With enormous effort it's being done, but there is no expectation of fruit of action. There's not even a word from me many times. I'm not even saying it's good. I look at it and that's all. If it's bad, I'll immediately call them and tell them this needs to improve, this must happen, that must happen. It is not that I do not acknowledge it, but I don't want them to get entangled to that either. That Sadhguru will call us and say, it's great. Sometimes I do, but I don't want them to get entangled even to that. So once you've renounced the fruit of action, just see how easily action comes. All these people who are doing this, they have not been trained in anywhere in any great way. Here and there they've gone to pick up a few tips, but no great training, nothing. Many of them are from… people who are doing this, one or two of them are from very small villages. They're not exposed to life, they've not seen any great decorations anywhere. But it's a class of its own, isn't it? Because once a person is simply doing it out of their love for what they're doing, and above all, they want somebody else to enjoy it. It doesn't matter whether they get to sit under it or not, all they get is sleepless nights. So once you renounce the fruit of action, action is not entangling. So always in your life, it is not what you're doing which entangles you, it is expectation of what you should get which entangles you. You don't need a Gita, you just observe yourself. Wherever you do action without expectation, what is your experience? Wherever you're doing action with expectation, what is your experience? Just look at it, you will speak Gita. Yes, have you noticed this? So because you will not drop the fruit of action with awareness, that's why so much talk about love. When you have a deep sense of love towards somebody, it is easy to drop the fruit of action. It is easier to drop the fruit of action. In this sense, if you look at it, generally, everywhere in the world, definitely, but especially in this culture, it's a little more heightened. I think women are better karma yogis than men. Because especially the housewives who are just limited to their household work, it's a full-time job, it's not that there… people usually think, are you working or not working? No, I'm just at home, that means not working? No, being at home is a full-time job. A husband and 2 or 3 children means it is more than full-time job. But everything is generally being done that if they cook, whether they eat or not is not the issue. They want the child to eat, they want the husband to eat. Everything that they do is being done with not expecting any fruit of action. You will see somehow they're very different. They have a different level of space within themselves, which people who are going out and doing things to get things don't have the same sense of peace and life about themselves. Especially Indian housewives, they enjoyed this. Slowly in this generation it's dissipating in a big way, because they're all getting educated, and once education comes, unfortunately the way education is structured, it's endless want. All that we are creating with modern education is simply unbridled want in a human being. There is no question of, sitting and relaxing once you're educated. You must be on endlessly. If you get here, you'll look at somebody else and say, you must get like them. If you get there, you must look at somebody else and get there. Because the whole education has brought this stupidity, this madness as progress in people's minds. This endless madness. That today, during the 60s, one of the famous hippie slogans was, even if you win, it's still a rat race. You're still a rat, rather. Even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. So during the 60s, 70s, when the hippie movement was on, that was one of their famous slogans. If you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Do you want to be one? The hippie movement, their intention was right, but their longing somehow got flared up. Longing to know, longing to break away, longing to know another dimension of life. This was a huge phenomenon, but unfortunately it went without guidance. Some very opportunistic people jumped at the demand that was there and they just floundered the whole thing. People just went on drugs, killed themselves, got drunk and just hastened their destruction rather than getting anywhere. A few people got straightened out and fell back into normal life, others just got washed off. So, becoming free from the fruit of action is definitely a complete release, because action is never a suffering. It is the expectation of fruit of action which causes suffering for any human being. If there is no expectation of fruit of action, then, you would definitely work joyfully. Definitely you would work joyfully, and your ability to work would be quite tremendous. Because what comes in the end is not an issue. You would simply, if you're enjoying something, you would simply throw yourself absolutely and do that. And that is the culture we want to bring. People think I'm running a slave trade here, because people are saying brahmacharis are working their ass off. They don't have this, they don't have that, that is not there, this is not there. That's the whole thing. They're not working their ass off, they're working their way towards their ultimate nature. You better work too, every one of you. Don't expect the fruit of action. You go to work? Yes, you go to work. Every month, whatever salary you get, you give it to me. I will tell you how much you should have and how much you should not have. Can you do that? Oh, if Sadhguru eats up everything, what shall I do? Then don't do such things. If you have such thoughts, don't ever do such things. I'm just saying as an example, everything, not just your salary, everything, the result of everything that you get, you just hand it over to me. What you need, we will give you. What you don't need, we'll give it to somebody else. O son of Pandu, sannyasa is yoga, because only by giving up all selfish impulses can one attain yoga. It's the same thing said in a different way. See, once again when we say sannyas, now he referred to that thing, anyway you cannot stop activity. So what is this about sannyas? So that's what he's clarifying here. Sannyas does not mean not doing anything. Sannyas just means you have given up selfish impulses. When you say selfish, you do not think in terms of how socially you're using the words selfish and selfless. If you are too concerned about the fruit of action, that's selfishness, isn't it? No, it's not for me, it is for the people, it's for my family, it's for my community, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to whom it goes. Whether you like it or not, it always goes to somebody. See, how much ever you earn, you can only eat that much. What you earn goes to so many people. You give it to your tailor, you give it to your servant maid, you give it to your driver, you give it to so many people, isn't it? Yes, can you eat it all by yourself? No. It'll go to so many people in so many ways. The thing is, you are not doing all this with the huge expectation of the fruit. If the fruit comes, you also eat it. There's nothing wrong in eating the fruit. But the expectation of the fruit kills you. You understand the distinction? It is not the fruit that kills you, it is the expectation of the fruit of action which kills you. For someone who has just begun yoga, accomplishment of yoga can be attained by action. But for one who has already attained yoga, perfection is possible through termination of all activity. So this question is always there. Any number of people keep asking me, shall I just come away to the ashram? What they're asking is, shall I drop all the action that I'm doing in my life, my responsibilities, my family, my work, my business, shall I just come away? In their mind, their idea is that they're going to drop all action and come down here and just… Now, even if you come here, still we are putting people into action because their action is not yet over. When we were just some time ago talking about prarabdha, it's an allotted amount of karma. When we say allotted amount of karma, a certain amount of your energy, life energies, are dedicated to action. A certain amount of life energy is dedicated to thought, emotion, like this for various aspects. So whatever is dedicated to action, you have to expend it, there is no other way. You can also transcend, but that is much more subtle. So the best way or the simplest way is for people to expend it. So if they were doing 6 hours of work at home, if they come and join here as brahmacharis, we are giving them 12 to 18 hours of work. Because I'm hoping in the next 5–10 years, all the energy that their prarabdha has dedicated or allotted for action is expended. Once it is expended, now you ask him to close his eyes and sit. Simply if he sits, it's meditation. He doesn't have to do anything. There are many people for whom it is slowly happening at different stages. Initially it was all big turmoil. Now if they sit, they simply sit like air, like empty space, they sit. But if this energy which is allotted by prarabdha is still not expended, you try to meditate as hard as you want. If you sit here, you want to be there, if you are there, you want to be here. This is the state of most people right now, because without attending to that dimension, they are trying to do something else because somebody told them meditation is good. So they have to expend the energy that has been allotted by their prarabdha, otherwise they cannot sit still in one place. It's not possible to sit still. If you sit here, if you want to sit here without any sense of moment within you, without a single thought or emotion or anything, simply like empty space, then you have to work to expend that energy. Otherwise, you must do the necessary sadhana to transform that into something else, which is much subtler and involves a deeper sense of sadhana. Expending energy through action, through excessive action, is a good thing to do at one phase of sadhana. So that's why he is saying, for someone who has just begun yoga, accomplishment of yoga can be attained by action. When he says accomplishment, he is not talking about a final accomplishment, because the next sentence is, but for one who has already attained yoga, perfection is possible through termination of all activity. So if he has expended his prarabdha karma, now the energy dedicated or allotted for action is over. Now if he terminates all activity, he will attain perfection. He will become… Okay, here there's a visual depiction. See, lots of action, 5 stages. Here, this is absolute inaction. He's in a samadhi. Samadhi means, the question that he asked included this also. Samadhi means you have not only dropped external activity, you have dropped inner activity also. Even the physiological activity is lowered. Do you see, you sit in shunya, your breath has dropped, your BP has dropped, everything has dropped. You started the process. We are stopping you there. We are stopping you there in 15 minutes because we don't want you to go deeper into that process of dropping activity without the necessary control over the system. It is all right to drop to that point, but if you drop beyond that, if you happen to drop beyond that without the necessary understanding and control, it will go in a different way. So, when we talk about termination of activity, we are not just talking about outside activity, inner activity also. Thought, emotion, physiology, everything still. This needs to be properly understood. For someone who has just begun yoga, accomplishment of yoga can be attained by action. But for one who has already attained yoga, do you understand that? For one who has already attained yoga, perfection is possible through termination of activity. So he is referring to one dimension or one level of human consciousness or experience as yoga. Another level is being translated here as perfection. I don't know what was the original word. It could be samadhi or it could be something else, maybe susupti or some other word he must have used. In English they have made it as perfection. Do we have the original thing? What's the word that's been used there? No, that doesn't have a Sanskrit… It has? Oh, okay, please. What does it say? Oh, you're not with us. Chapter 6, 3, verse 3.
Aruruksho muni yogang karma karan muchyate yoga rudhasya tasyaiva shama karan muchyate.
Just look for that particular word for perfection, this in the second sentence. Yoga?
Yoga rudhasya.
That means one is accomplished in yoga already. What's the next word?
Tasyaiva shamaha karan muchyate.
Shamaha. Yoga rudhasya tasyaiva shamaha karan muchyate.
What does shamaha mean?
I think it means samadhi. I think shamaha means equanimity.
Okay,
I think that's what…
it's equanimity. Equanimity is samadhi, but he's used a different word, but I do not have the Sanskrit thing to tell you what exactly shamaha means. If you're clear, does it mean equanimity? Is that what he's saying? Yes? So if one is talking about equanimity, equanimity is perfection. The only thing that can be perfect is that which is not dual. As long as the duality is there is a comparison, one is better than the other. So, only in equanimity there can be perfection, so in English they must have translated as perfection. It is… it's appropriate, but it doesn't say the same thing though. So to attain accomplishment in yoga for a beginner, action is good. But one who has attained that accomplishment, for him to come to a state of absolute equanimity, it's good for him to terminate action. So, but first bringing yourself to that point where you're accomplished in yoga, or when we say you're accomplished in yoga, that means the normal forces of physical existence have been transcended. The normal force, the basic force of physical existence is the karmic bondage. So if one has transcended or expanded one's prarabdha, then termination of action is a good way for one to attain to absolute or ultimate equanimity. When all attachment towards sense objects and action cease and all material impulses stop, one attains yoga. It is saying the same thing in a different context, the same equanimity. Instead of talking about the mind, he's talking about the senses. Senses, the five senses in the mind are not different. Five sense organs are the tentacles of the mind. Without the five senses, mind has no feet. Sense organs are the mouths for the mind. Only if the sense organs eat, mouth is fed, the mind is fed. If the sense organs don't take in anything, mind has no food to go on with. So they're not really different, they're just outer or external agencies of the mind.
In the morning session, you were telling that one should not live a choiceful life. You should live without any choice. As the things come, you should do whatever is required, and then don't make your decisions to do this or that. If that is correct, so kindly elaborate it, whether it relates to the personal life or to the livelihood life.
So when we talked about not making choices, we were actually more talking about the entanglement of making choices. Now, the choices, we're talking about life choices. You go to work, you have to make some decisions, it's not a choice. It's just doing what's needed there, isn't it? That is okay, but should I expand my business or not is a choice. It is not a choice. If you look at it as an activity that is needed in the world, not as an activity that you are doing for your fanciful satisfaction or whatever. You're doing something that's needed. If what is needed is being done, expanding according to the need of the situation around you is natural. If you're doing it for your fancy satisfaction, then the question is, should I do it or not do it, arises. I'm being accused of this, you're just taking up too many things and you're just killing people here. Endless activity you're taking and you're just literally putting people to death. I'm not taking up. So many things to be done which are not yet done. So, whatever is our capacity, that plus another 10–20% I take extra, because I know we can stretch that extra 20%. I'm sorry?
No, in daily life, how this thing has to be
No, I will come.
observed.
This is daily life, isn't it? Every day stretching ourselves 20% beyond our energy limits is daily life, isn't it so?
But making choice or not. Suppose, I put it in this way, suppose some food is available to me. When I go for lunch, yes, so many items are available. I can eat everything what is ever given, a small quantity, or take whatever I like it. So then if I take something I like it, then it becomes a question of choice, making choice. Or, say for example, we have come here with choice. So some of these things, if we don't make any choice, then I don't
Okay,
know.
we'll talk about the lunch.
Okay.
Now, so I go to the lunch table. Do I eat everything that is there or do I eat what I want? Maybe what you want to eat, not you, Subbarao, but maybe many people what they want to eat is just the chocolate. But they know if they eat just chocolate, life won't work, it won't make them sweeter, it'll make them something else. So they choose to eat according to their understanding of taste, health, well-being, according to their understanding. Whatever is their understanding of taste and health, and they choose something. So food you're choosing, but for what? The choice is you want to enjoy it. Yes? The important thing is you want to enjoy it and you want to be well. Yes? Isn't it so? So both these things, I want to be well is not really a choice. The body is longing to be well, the mind is longing to be well. I want to be joyful is not a choice, the very being is longing to be joyful. Is this your choice? Is this your choice? I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, is it your choice or every cell in the body is screaming that it wants to be healthy? Every cell is asking for it, isn't it? It is not your choice. So today you went there, they had made vada, you ate only vada. Tomorrow your body tells you, maybe it won't wait till tomorrow. By today evening your body tells you, you made a bad choice, man. It's not going in line with my choice. Your body will tell you this. Then tomorrow you eat 2 vadas and something else. If your body still tells you, if you're from America, your body will tell you even 2 vadas is not my choice. Then you will just smell the vada and eat the salad. So these choices are not really made by you, you think you're making it. You are only choosing whatever you think is tasty and well, will bring well-being. I want to be well, I want to enjoy, both these choices you did not make. The life itself is making those choices. You are trying to fulfill those things. Fulfill it. Because the action was instigated not by you and the fruit of action is not for you. Do you understand the trick? Subbarao, do you understand what I'm saying? See, the action was instigated not by you. I want to be happy was not instigated by you consciously. The very life is longing. I want to be well was not instigated by you. Every cell in the body is longing for that. If you are in line with their desire, they'll make you happy. If you're not in line with their desire, they'll make you suffer. Do you understand the slavery of physical existence? Is it so or no? If you're in line with the desire of your physical body, it will make you happy. If you're off, it'll take you. If you're in line with the basic life energy, what it is longing for, you will be always blissful. If you're not, it will make you a torture. So when you feel tortured, you don't look at the external situations. This is something that you have to do. This is something every sensible human being have to do. Whenever you feel tortured, you look at her and say, this is the one, this cow dung girl, she is the torture. When you're tortured, never look outside. All that's happened to you is, you're not fulfilling the fundamental desire of your life energies, you're off the mark. That's why torture. There is no other reason. No, my husband is like this, my wife is like this, my mother-in-law is like this is all nonsense. There is no such thing. Your torture is happening simply because you are not fulfilling the fundamental longing of the life energies within you. The being is always longing to be blissful. You're not fulfilling that. Why have you fallen off? Why have you fallen off such a huge force which is the basis of who you are right now? Simply because you got fancy ideas, which are not yours anyway. You picked it up from all kinds of idiots around you who have no clue about what life is. Isn't it so? Did you pick it up from Krishna and Buddha and Jesus, somebody? No, you picked it up from all kinds of idiots who have no idea what life is about. Isn't it so? If you had picked it up from this blue book, at least, lot of people, even with very meager understanding of the blue book, they have come out of suffering, isn't it so? Yes, many people have. But the problem is the nature of the mind has such a huge capability of misinterpreting everything that the blue book is a big suffering right now. That itself is a big suffering because thousands of years of misinterpretation. From the Sanskrit verse that's written in that book and the English, you don't know what's happened. Yes? From print to print, print to print, when it goes, you don't know what's happened because I know what's happening to my books. Enormous care is taken, but still, one day, one sentence, if you don't look at it, something else will happen to it. But Sharu, you know. So, about not making a choice is not a choice. Do you understand? You making a choice or not making a choice is not your choice. Anyway, you have no choice. I want you to understand this. Either you serve life or you be tortured. This is the only choice you have. Either you serve life in its deepest core and be blissful, or you be off track and you suffer. This is all the choice you have. You have no other choice. Don't think that now you're choosing, okay, I will become choiceless. There is no such thing, that's a joke. Anyway, there is no choice. If you are in tune, if you are in line with the deepest core of life within you, everything will be fine. If you are not, anyway you will suffer. It doesn't matter where you're placed. Aren't you seeing people suffering in any kind of position? Yes? Aren't you seeing every day? You place them anywhere. You place them at the peak, you place them at the bottom. People are capable of suffering on all levels, isn't it? Is there any particular strata of society which is not suffering? Is it so? Is there any particular strata of society which is not suffering? Everybody is suffering. Only individuals may be free from it. No particular position in the world has eliminated suffering, isn't it? Yes? No particular situation, political, economic, family, whatever kind of situations have not eliminated suffering. A few individuals have eliminated suffering within themselves because they are serving life. They are not serving the body, they are not serving the world, they are not serving society or their whims and fancies. They're just serving the deepest core of life within themselves. Such beings are blissful every moment of their life. And that's not a choice because that's the only way. So where is the choice? There is really no choice.
Sadhguru, we destroy only things that are totally useless. So when we want to destroy something for good, then that means it's totally useless. So when I want to destroy myself and for good, does that mean I'm fundamentally useless?
Now, if we are particularly talking about you, I agree with your opinion. But if you're talking about whole life, then we will have to look at it. See, anyway you're useless, at least enjoy yourself. Yes? Anyway you're useless, at least have fun and go. Now, the word destroy, destruct, we're not talking about destruction, destroying, all this. Sometimes in jest, I might have told you, okay, we are going to demolish you, destroy you. Suppose you're a bird. You must suppose. Suppose you're a bird. You must suppose. Yeah, you're not making the right noises, you're saying yes, no. Oh, you could only think of being a crow, Revati? You didn't think of becoming the national bird? Suppose you're a bird and you always lived in a cage, a good one, not a ordinary one, an expensive one. Let's say gold one. Maybe the lock was studded with diamonds. It's such a precious cage, can we break it? We should not break it, because it's so precious. It's taken a lot to build this cage. Now suppose I come and break open the cage for you, do you call this destruction or liberation? If you're a bird, if you're a stupid human being, you'll call this destruction. If you're a bird, what would you call it? That's all it is.
For the poor people, life is such a continuous struggle for survival. As if this is not enough, they are always at the receiving end of nature's fury, tsunami, earthquakes, floods, drought. Given these situations, how will they walk on the path of the divine? What is their recourse to salvation?
See, with what we today refer to as poverty, we are causing much physical pain to a large number of human beings. Somewhere in the world today, I don't know the exact figures, but generally they say, and I can see it is so, 90% of the wealth in the world is held by approximately 5 to 6% of the population. And 90% of the world's resources are enjoyed by about 10 to 15% of the world's population. With the remaining 10%, 80% of the people are trying to live. So naturally, they will be deprived because the volume of resources available on the planet is limited. With technology and other things, we can stretch it, but still it is limited. So, there is poverty. Poverty not because of lack of resources, poverty simply because human heart has stopped beating. That's why I asked you, do you have a Swiss heart or something? Stop beating. So, there is poverty. It is not that there is no enough food. There is enough food. There's more food than humanity can eat right now in the world. Do you know this? We have enough food to feed over 12 to 13 billion people on the planet. Today, the volume of food stocks we have, we can feed 12 to 13 billion people, but we are only 7 billion. So there is lots of food, but people who need it don't get it. So why wouldn't people not get it? Because people who have it just don't care about it. Whether it's in the individual form or in terms of communities, in terms of nations or economic powers or whatever. From an individual to all levels, various different units of humanity, people just are not bothered about it. They're bothered about their markets, they're bothered about their wealth, they're bothered about their power that they have over people. They're not bothered about that somebody is really not eating. So poverty has happened in a certain way by choice. Maybe out of our lethargy or totally uncaring attitude within ourselves, but we have chosen to live the world like that, isn't it? Isn't it so? We have chosen to live the world like that. So, for these people, is there spiritual salvation? You never talk spirituality to a hungry man. That's absolutely obscene. Now what Krishna is saying, see, nobody can be killed, nor can you kill anybody, because you're not the body. Body is just like clothes that you wear and you discard. These things you don't talk to a hungry man. It's absolutely obscene to even mention such a thing to a man who is hungry right now. If he's hungry by choice, he's a sannyasi who is not eating, he's a yogi who is not eating by choice, to him you can talk. Somebody is hungry out of his helplessness, you cannot talk such nonsense to him. So, is there no spiritual salvation for them? There is. Only poor people attain, rich people don't attain. Do you know this? That is why kings and rich people renounce and consciously become poor. Always it's been so, isn't it so? Hasn't it been so? Always they renounced everything that they have and consciously, by choice, became absolutely poor, poorer than the poor man. Not just poor, a beggar. See, Gautama, the Buddha, is poorer than the man in Danikandi. Because the man in Danikandi owns something or the other. All Gautama has is a begging bowl, that is also not his. The man in Danikandi owns a house, has 2 cows, has a wife, has 3 children, and he's just bought himself a cheap watch, he's planning to buy a transistor. He's much richer than Gautama or any other yogi for that matter. So it's only the poor who attain. But if one who is consciously poor, when we say poverty, we are not talking about consciously choosing to be free. It is something that's been imposed by the social conditions in which one exists. So, will the poor attain? What is poverty, what is prosperity, is all a social phenomena. Poor or rich, the inner dimension is same. If, in spite of his harsh physical conditions, if he can bring forth the necessary awareness, yes, he will attain. Because existence does not see you as poor or rich. Poor or rich is just a social phenomenon. It's just a social, comparison with somebody who has and somebody who does not have. If all of us, let's say the whole world, was in the condition of Dani Kandi, we wouldn't feel poor, isn't it? Would we? Would we feel poor? No, that's how life would be. It would be quite fine. We would just strive to get enough food. Then the only distinction would be the man who's eaten and the man who's not eaten. That's all the distinction would be. Even now in Indian villages, especially in Karnataka it is so, I think in Tamil Nadu also, it's going away these days, but in the villages, even today, if you go meet somebody, in the ashram also I still continue the culture. If you go meet somebody, they won't say good morning to you. They'll say, "Uta madra? Saptingla? Have you eaten?" That's the first enquiry you do when you meet a human being. This is from ancient times of poverty. If you've eaten, you're well. That's the understanding. Even today, if you go to a rural place, if you meet them, they'll say, "Oh, saptingla? Have you eaten?" If you're eaten, what more problem do you have? That's the understanding of life. Actually, that's the truth. If your stomach is full, what other problem do you have? I really don't have any other problem. Once your stomach is full, everything is okay, isn't it? Rest of it is all you can handle it. This one thing has to come from outside, it's not in your hands, it's in the hands of the world. If this one thing you put into your belly, rest is all 100% in your hands, isn't it so? How peaceful or joyful or blissful or ecstatic you are right now is 100% in your hands. Only this food is not in your hands, it's in the world. You have to procure it from the world, there is no other way. There are other ways, but still, generally, this is the only way. So, ಊಟ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರ Anandam. That's all there is. So, for a poor person, when you say poor, are you talking about Bombay poor? Bombay poverty is, they are looking at the film star or they're looking at somebody who's driving a Mercedes and he's poor. That poverty, there's no solution for that. That Bill Gates also feels poor, looking at the Saudi king. Okay? For that poverty, there is no solution in the world. But is the stomach empty or full? For that, we have to find a solution. We have to find a solution. Without finding the solution for that, we should not talk spirituality to such people. So right now, we are going into rural areas and talking spirituality because stomach empty condition is not there. They may not be eating, 5 times a day like you, but they're eating enough food. But if you go to Dani Kandi, now we are not talking spirituality at all. I'm just encouraging at least children come and eat in the ashram, but they're not coming. So now I've told one of the laborer boys who works here, every day you somehow bring the children. If they're afraid to come in the evening, I'll provide transportation. At least one meal, let them eat here. By looking at those children's faces, I'm telling them, we'll give you transport, come, eat and go. In spite of that, last 2 days they've not come. I told him, you talk to Swami Nandikesha and you fix up the vehicle, evening you come by yourself, we'll drop you back because it'll be late. But I don't think they have come in the last 2 days because of so many, things. So it is not enough, just offering them food is not enough. Now I have to put it in their mouth somehow because they're in such a disadvantage. They're in such a state of disadvantage within themselves. Even if I tell them, come and eat well and go, they're unable to make use of that. Now you really have to compulsively get them, make them eat for some time and realize this is worthwhile and then come. So we have not reached out to that point because we are busy with Leela, I'm telling you just life, the way it is.
Earlier, we talked about various deceptive methods that Krishna used during the Mahabharata war. Uh, One thing that has always puzzled me from that story and many other similar stories is how can the end justify the means?
You're trying to make some kind of a principle out of it. The other day also somebody, I think Amrish used the same slogan, does the end justify the means? He's not thinking on those terms at all. See, deception once two Sardarjis from Jalandhar. Can I tell a Sardarji joke, Sita? They went to London to visit their relatives, because every Sardarji has one relative in London city. You must have? You have, okay. Every Sardarji has at least one relative in London. So they went there and they were just walking about and they ate and drank and everything, they felt like pee. So they were so happy being in London for 2 days, just walking about. So they just decided to pee in a street corner. So they opened their flies and pulled out their equipment and peeing. So London Bobby came up, the police, and he said, "Hey gentlemen, what do you think you're doing here? This is not India, you can't pee like this. Put those things inside and stop it." So they immediately followed the instruction. After the Bobby went away, one of the Sardarjis really started laughing. The other guy asked why. The policeman told us this, but I didn't follow his instruction. I just put it inside, but I didn't stop. If that's your idea of deception, Krishna is not looking at deception that way. He is just looking at the situation. In certain situations, where he could have easily taken advantage of of his foes or enemies, if you can call them, at least they thought he's their enemy and they were wanting to fight him, kill him, all this. Any number of times when he had the opportunity to eliminate those people, he did not. He let them go. Because the situation was not so pressing and he had no personal bitterness with them, that when he got the chance he wants to finish them. He has no such bitterness. He knows tomorrow the same people will again come back attacking him. Today you let them go, again tomorrow they'll build their forces and again come back. He knows that. In spite of that, he let them go. He let go Jarasandha when he had him totally cornered. And he went to the extent of serving Duryodhana's needs because he made a promise to his wife. When Bhanumati came and, even against her own will, under coercion, she came and asked a request to help Duryodhana to win Panchali. He went about doing what is needed for her. He said, I have taken you as my sister. That's not his own sister. Just at one moment I have accepted you as my sister, so you have asked me, even if it's under coercion, you have asked me, so I'll do it. Out and out enemy, that man is just thirsting for Krishna's blood. But still, he went out to reach out to do what he has to do. But now all those limits have been crossed. Everything that can be done, every solution that can be offered has been offered, everything they have disregarded and gone against everything and they brought it to a battle. Now he doesn't see any reason in satisfying himself with empty vanity of chivalry and this and that. He's telling Arjuna, finish the job somehow. Enough of all this we have done. It did not work, they have no value for anything. It's not worked. Now the only way is, the quicker you do it, the better. I think General Sherman said this when he burned the South. You know, Susan? You know about that? Oh, but you know General Sherman. When General Sherman in the Civil War just burned the South, when people asked, why are you going so brutally? He said, when you fight a war, once it's come to war, the more brutally you do it, the quicker it ends. If you try to gently fight a war, it'll elongate itself forever. You handle it absolutely brutally, at least it'll stop quick. If you can avoid it, do everything you can avoid it. But once you're into it, you better fight it brutally and finish it off. Otherwise it'll just go on and on and on, because the other party is not going to stop, nor can you stop. Isn't it so? Can you stop halfway through the war and say, okay, let's have a chai together and then fight? It won't happen like that. That's not how human emotions are made. Once you fired the first shot, or once they have fired the first shot, there is no stopping. Either you have to give up something and come to peace, or one of you must fall dead. There is no other way for peace. Is that so? We will gently fight. You will go on fighting endlessly. So Krishna sees that too. He says, there's no point stretching this. And especially when it comes to the leadership in the opposition army, he is saying, just get them somehow. If you finish it, at least these ordinary men will go home. Defeated, but at least they will go home. First, just all those important people, just get them. That's all he's telling Arjuna. I think it's a wise decision. Brutal, but wise.
I read that in the beginning of the war, on both the sides, they gave Balidan. And they selected a day, that was Amavasya. And Krishna did a miraculous thing. He confused about the Amavasya day and he changed it to the next day. He made the sun and moon come together, something like that. And I want to know, is Balidan correct? And why was it done? And about the day, does the day hold any importance?
See, this Amavasya Paurnami is always a confusion even today. So it must have been so even 3,500 years ago. So here, Amavasya Paurnami, some offering has to happen to Dhyanalinga, and what time it starts, where it ends, there's a lot of confusion all the time. Do you know this confusion that's going on? Somebody says it starts in the evening, somebody says it starts at midnight, somebody says it started yesterday. This is always going on. So 3,500 years ago also, the same thing. Knowing Krishna the way I know him, maybe they put a word across to the opposition saying, you did it at the wrong time, to beat them psychologically. You did your balidan at the wrong time, so you guys are finished. Very wise strategic move to take away the confidence of the opposition. Because war is mostly your confidence, The morale of the troops is a huge factor in a war, isn't it?
They gave human lives as balidan.
They give human lives?
Yeah.
I don't think, no. It is repeatedly spoken in Mahabharata that the Aryans will never give human sacrifice. No. There might have been animal sacrifice and other types of sacrifice. Jarasandha, the reason why Krishna took a mission against Jarasandha was, Jarasandha was told by some Aghori yogi that if he sacrifices 100 kings, not ordinary people, 100 kings, if he sacrifices at the sacrificial fire, he will become the emperor of the whole, the whole subcontinent. So because of that, he started imprisoning. He went, captured kings and started collecting them. So it reached some 84, 86, so everybody got alarmed. If it becomes 100, he is going to slaughter all of them, something unheard of. And the Aryan culture never sanctified human sacrifice. There was only one incident in the past where somebody did that sacrifice, only one. And that was also generally denounced as a wrong act. It is only in certain one thing, in the tribal cultures it was always there, and in certain practices of tantra, human sacrifice was there, but that was always by choice and very consciously done in a certain way. We will not go into that sacrificial aspect, but the Aryans themselves, to which Krishna adheres to, he's constantly talking about Arya Dharma. The question of human sacrifice doesn't arise at all.
I was wondering whether you can talk about the nature and basis of music and dance. It's seemed to be a big part of Leela here, and even otherwise. And the other aspect of that question is, how do we cultivate our receptivity towards that dimension of life where music and dance sort of arise?
See, unless your life process becomes a dance, when you talked about sound and dance, I think today even always in the Indian way of life, the process of creation has been described as a dance of energy. Yoga describes the process of creation. Srishti is a dance. I think the other day they, tried to depict Srishti as a dance, 5 elements dancing and making things happen. Today modern scientists are also coming, they are very hesitant to call it a dance because it doesn't seem scientific. But if you look at their terminology, they're just doing their best to avoid the word dance because it doesn't agree with their sensibilities. Otherwise, indirectly they are calling the whole energy process on the very nano level as a dance. So what the last picture that you see there is a dance of dissolution. Creation is also a dance, dissolution is also a dance. Everything that's happening in the existence today is a scientific fact, is just a play and dance of energy. Either it is a joyful dance or a torturous dance is what you decide, because you have the discriminatory possibility of making yourself blissful or making yourself absolutely miserable. All that's happening is just a play of energy. Simply, all the time dancing. Just now the dancer girl Isha was saying, "Oh, I am off." I said, "Don't ever be off." The whole Leela is just about that, just to be on all the time. That's Krishna, on all the time, anytime, day or night, whatever. He's on all the time. I'm on all the time. Always on, never off. Off will happen. You don't have to off yourself. It'll happen to you anyway. They'll switch it off one day. Your business is to keep it on, always on, no off. If you are always consciously on, then you'll be on the way you want it, isn't it? Yes? If you're always consciously on, right now you're compulsively on, okay? Right now, life situations are compelling you to do something. You are not choosing to do it every day. Life situations are compelling you that you got to do it. So when you're on compulsively, then it's a great burden to be on, you want to be off. Whenever you say, "I want to be off," unknowingly, you're inviting death. Death may not come straight away, it may come in small measures because your mind is not so vibrant. The moment you wish it, it'll happen to you. If your mind is very, very focused and vibrant, if you wish for death, you'll just fall dead right there. Do you know it's happened to people? Do you know it's happened to people? Somebody's having a great fight with somebody and with great emotion and anger they say, "I want to die," and they just fall dead. It's happened to people. Do you know it's happened to people? It has happened to many people. People have just fallen dead because they wished for it at that moment, because mind was in such intensity. So if your mind is in great focus and intensity, if you say, "I want to die," you'll just fall dead. It is not in such great intensity, so whenever you say, "I want to avoid life," mind understands that you want to die. But because mind is weak, it is not so vibrant, death will not happen in full measure, it happens in parts. Do you see, death has happened to people in parts? Do you see this? Lot of my school time and college time friends, they were all fine when they were youth. They were really alive and nice people. Now, except a handful, rest of them, you look at them, they're all… most of them are successful, they're doing very well for themselves, they have money, they have families, they have children, everything they have, but death has happened to them in parts. They're not as alive as they used to be. When I just happen to meet them somewhere and I slap their back and talk to them just the way I used to 30 years ago, they think I'm some kind of a stranger. Because in these 30 years, they're almost 60% dead. And they cannot understand this liveliness and the same, because death has happened to you in parts. Because in so many ways you wish to avoid life. Whichever way you wish to avoid life. Now, somebody comes here, you don't like this person, that person smiles, you don't want to smile. You invited death, 2% death happened to you. I want you to understand the mechanism of your mind, this is how it functions. You want to avoid this person. You caused a little bit of death to yourself. Like this, trying to avoid life in so many ways, you will bring death in small measure daily into your life. And after 10 years, you look at yourself, most people are carrying not the face of life, they're carrying the face of death, isn't it? Isn't it so? Isn't it so? When something happens, somebody says good morning to them, they smile and this, that. 24 hours of the day, you just watch people if they are by themselves. They are death's face, they are not life's face. Somebody is surrounding them, pampering them, doing something to them, they're… If they're alone by themselves, you watch their face and see, they are definitely the face of death, they are not the face of life. Because they have been inviting death in small measure on a daily basis. Moment to moment, they're doing it. The whole purpose of Leela is just that. The 24 hours you are on, you don't choose what is good, what is not good, shall I participate, shall I not participate? Right from day one, we've been doing this to you. No giving an opportunity for a person to choose what to participate in, what not to participate. Just go, 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 go all the time without giving him a chance. You do this for some time to yourself, then you see suddenly you're all like this, you shook off the death. I want you to install one video camera in your house and forget about it, okay? Just be alone, just walk about in your house, just look at your face and see, you are death's face, you're not life's face. Is that so or no? If that has to change, you have to Leela yourself all the time. So, life is just a dance of energy. If you consciously allow yourself into it, you will dance with it. If you think life should not dance this way, it should dance my way, then you'll kill yourself in the process. Life is just dancing. We will have things, a few things our way, but my way, your way is not important. The important thing is, you're alive and you're enjoying the dance of life, isn't it? So how do I use more of music and dance in my life? See, any number of times I told you first 3 days, then I left it to yourself. I told you when you walk joyfully. When you come and sit, you're not doing it, you gave up. You thought it was an exercise. It's not an exercise, it's life. It is not an exercise, it is not something that you practice. If you're alive, it is something that naturally happens out of you. If you're feeling very joyful, anybody you see, you're like that, isn't it? Please do it. Right side, left side. Really, with utmost love, you just look at the backside of their head. See, if you really love somebody and that person is sitting and doing something, not looking at your side, you just looked at the backside of their head, is it not a great event for you? Huh? It is, isn't it? Only because there's no love, the backside of head is not good enough. You want to look at the backside. The reason why you are not in tune with the dance of life is you think you're super smart, that's the biggest problem. You think, you believe that you're super smart, that is the main problem. The cleverest man in the world is always the biggest idiot when it comes to life. Recently, someone I know wrote a note to somebody. Here are the keys to your property, some compensation for having missed the keys to your life. So the same goes for you. You get the keys to your property, your bank balance, your this, your that, some compensation for having missed the keys to life. One day, Shankaran Pillai was walking in New York City. And two muggers came. He fought valiantly. A big fight happened. He bashed them properly, but after much fighting, the two muggers overpowered him and pulled out all his pockets, and they just found a quarter. Then they said, "Hey man, for this quarter you fought like this? If you had 100, what would you do? You would have killed both of us." Then Shankaran Pillai said, "No, no, I thought you were going for the $1,000 bill that I had in my shoes." It's like that.